It's almost Halloween, so it's time for scary bits of Warhammer, right?
Yeah, spooky month. Woo!
What do you plan on talking about? Some anthology book about our reality?
Not this week, because I can't seem to get my hands on physical or digital versions of any of the horror anthologies for some reason.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. So, what's your plan for this week, then?
I have an interesting idea. I'd like to write out a concept for a 10th edition Codex. Now, I will state that this theoretical Codex will be built less for balance and more for vibe. I'm writing this with the intent of feeling like the army in question, rather than being made for competitive play. Not that Games Workshop actually writes codexes with the intent of competitive play or theme of army. I'm looking at the Emperor's Children and the Imperial Knights specifically.
So, what's this theoretical codex going to be about? Let's see, if it's spooky month and you're sticking with that theme, the Enslavers? Or perhaps the Legion of the Damned?
Actually, those are good answers. Let me write those down, but no, I'm going to be making a theoretical codex about the Night Lords.
Oh yeah, I can see why the horror themes. Night Lords even scare me. I don't know, but I doubt there's any Night Lords Death Watch in our Watch Fortress. Of course they'd be Black Shields, but given their indoctrination, I have doubts.
Honestly, same, but I think it's very likely we'll get a codex for them to be unique relatively soon. I'm suspecting 20 years, more or less? Probably after the Living Primarchs are released for 40k. So let's start with the army rule I have theorized. I want it to be something built around killing characters and giving battle shock debuffs. I think what I'd want it to do is that when a Night Lord's unit kills a character keyword model, any units within 9 inches of that unit would need to make a BS test. If the model was attached to a unit, that unit would take a -1 to their test. Now, I don't know so much about this. I do want there to be a battle shock thing. That I know. I know battle shock was not nearly as important to 40k in 10th as GW has wanted it to be. But it does fit with the vibe of the Night Lords. You know what I mean? Of course, I talked about how I liked that the Chaos Knights had stuff that played into battle shock further, but this one doesn't really do that. I actually do intend on making some detachments feel into the army rule a bit. So for detachments, I want to have a minimum of 4 of them. I don't know how long it'll take to explain each idea, so if I got time, I'll try my best to think of up to 6 different detachments. But let's jump into that. First one I thought of was obviously a stealth detachment. I was thinking any solo model would be given the lone operative ability. If a unit is down to its last model, that one model would no longer need to make battle shock tests. The enhancements could be that maybe a character unit that has leader but doesn't start attached to a unit, it could become immune to battle shock, or get a bonus to attacks or attack rolls. I like the idea of units and characters spreading out to strike from every shadow. Range combat would be a key with this detachment, so maybe buff up some melee stuff as part of another enhancement or even a stratagem? Another detachment I'd like to make is a heavy guns detachment. Perhaps it can give certain heavier weapons the precision ability. It could make it so heavy weapons are more used more often by this army that tends to focus on killing and installing fear. Of course, we'd need to specify what weapons would get this ability, which would probably lead to a Deathwatch bolt weapons issue, but this ain't the first time they've done something like this ultimately. So what about another detachment idea? Number 3 could be a melee focused one. The Night Lords are known for their knife hands, so let's give that something. I think that a good idea for this detachment rule might be a melee version of the stealth ability, a -1 to hit rolls against them when in melee or in engagement range. An enhancement for this could definitely give melee weapons the precision ability. Hell, this detachment could definitely feel like the opposite of the first one I talked about. So this is nice to have in mind. A stratagem for it may allow a spring attack to happen, or perhaps give an extra charge if an opponent dies. A lot of options with this one here. Now on to number 4, a jump jet detachment. There needs to be more of these. This detachment, in my opinion, should give the fly keyword the ability to completely ignore terrain. Now, technically, jump jets can do this, because they often have the infantry keyword, but this would also apply to vehicles too. Now, people say that 10th edition flying keyword sucks. And it really does, because it actually led to longer movements rather than shorter movements in some situations. That's also been stated by even Games Workshop that they've recognized the issue and will try to change the rule in future editions. But I can't see the future, and am making these theoretical codex and detachments based off of 10th edition rules in October of 2025. Enhancements in this detachment may have some uppy downy abilities, or perhaps a death from above style ability like from Age of Sigmar. Honestly, this one could definitely be the one with the most changes between editions, but here in 10th, we all want flying to change, so let's leave it here for now. So we've got 4, and I've still got a bit of time according to that bar down below. I'm definitely clickbaiting this video title though, so maybe give a like and subscribe as well. I'm trying my best, and I know I ain't good, but if you say no, that's fine, I understand. I'll try to improve, so you may change your mind in the future. But what about detachment number 5? What about a justice-themed detachment? Well, how would this work? I assume similar to the Votan army rule, where if a unit gets killed, the killing unit gets a justice token. That could buff up allies slightly. Perhaps enhancements could give other buffs to the bearer and their units. Stratagems could play on the tokens too. Hell, maybe the detachment could play on the army rule, giving them other bonuses if that unit that they're fighting is battle shocked. But I think I've got this script filled out. I've written about 5 detachments thought out. None of these are balanced, and they're made with the assumption of 10th edition Warhammer 40,000. These detachments would obviously need to change entirely in any other edition. I also would not want this codex to be released with their Primarch. I'd like to see Conrad Kurz stay dead when their own unique army is released. They definitely need to release some specific units for the army, making a lot more models for this game. Hell, could give surefire answers to Sevatar, given GW seems to like to oversharing lore recently. But I'm going to go write some more stuff for Saloon. Shove off.